We have a methodology we use called Road True. It's a methodology that looks at your operational data, your sales data, and your finance data on your team to put together a comprehensive plan that tells you what types of customers should you be going after? What's your sweet spot of fixed fee per customer? What is it going to take to service these accounts? What skill sets do I need in-house? And what number of staff do I need in order to service these clients? That type of analysis is amazing. It's a game changer.
Today on M&A Insights, I'm joined by Brandi Bonds, Managing Partner at Next Level Now. Brandi leads a team of seasoned CFOs and finance professionals who help growth-minded companies strengthen their financial strategy and become truly exit-ready. For MSP owners who pride themselves on operational discipline and client service, this episode is about ensuring your financial practices rise to that same level. Brandi will share her insights on what it takes to build a finance function that supports smarter decisions, better margins, and long-term value creation. But first, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. My name is Madhur Dugar. I am a senior M&A advisor at Excendio Advisors, focused around MSPs and IT services. And this is my podcast series, M&A Insights. If you are interested in finding out more about how we are helping MSPs exit or grow inorganically, write to me at madhur@excendio.com, connect with me over LinkedIn, or visit our website, www.excendio.com. Let's get started. Brandi, welcome to M&A Insights. I'm super psyched to have you over here, and I know we've went back and forth a few times, but I'm glad to finally do one of these with you.
Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. And, for folks, if you don't know Brandi, Brandi plays a great role in the MSP community space and IT services in general to bring a lot of thought leadership and assistance around the kind of financial planning that MSPs need so much of. So let's get straight into it. Many MSPs, Brandi, right, they have great operational tools like ConnectWise or Autotask, but their financial reporting often lags. That's what we see. Why do you think that is, right? And how do you help them?
Yeah. So a lot of what we see is MSPs go into business for the operation side. They don't go into business for the finance side. So they put in these great tools to help the operational side of their business, how to log tickets, how to bill for their services. And they go in because they want to deliver for their services. But they don't invest in the finance side. I can tell you I have only met one MSP business owner that went into business because they understood finances and they knew the economic value that it brought. They go in because they love technology. They want to help businesses on the technology side. So they just don't go in with the sophistication or the knowledge of what a good MSP finance infrastructure looks like. So where we come in is we bridge that gap. So we'll help them with the GL structure, revenue recognition, data hygiene to help them tell the story of what's going on with their business versus just checking their bank account.
That's such a great point. I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of the work that they do is operational focused and tax reporting purposes, but I don't know that they use it strategically as a tool to help them make better business decisions.
Right.
What types of MSPs do you usually work with? I'm thinking here in terms of like size or growth stage or ownership.
Yeah, the best companies for us, we get asked this a lot. The best companies for us, those that want to grow, change, and be better, right? So that could be a startup, or it could be a $250 million MSP. So we work within that range, helping provide services. We don't usually see the big guys, the 250s very often. It's usually through acquisition, and we'll help do that acquisition planning. But really founder-led, wanting to grow quickly, thinking about scaling, thinking about acquiring other businesses or preparing for an exit. Sometimes it's just about making more money too for themselves. Yeah. But a business that is usually in an inflection point and they are ready to grow and scale.
And there isn't a size at which that happens in your experience. It really just depends on the founder and his mental space.
Yeah, what we see a lot is businesses that are hitting that $4 to $8 million range. That's when what happened, or we'll use 3 to 7 million range. What happened to get you there needs to change, because you cannot run the business the same once you're in that inflection point, depending on the complexity of your business. So that's when they usually come to us and they say, wait a minute, either my person has outgrown the position, or I need to know how my business is running, or they've joined a peer group and they're hearing all these acronyms like GP and EBITDA, and they have no idea what it means, but they know they want to be better and they want that help.
I'm smiling because you're talking my book completely. I exactly know what you're talking about. It's exactly that bucket where literally this happens, where they say, I need to change something because whatever I used to be doing is not working. So it's so funny that you pick that size bucket as well.
Yeah.
And how do you position your team? Are you supplementing their internal controllers? Are you effectively acting as their CFO office?
Yeah, so we work with our clients on a whatever their need is basis. And what that means, our capabilities, we can go in there purely strategic, just as your CFO, to help set the framework, coach and train your team, and make sure everything's being delivered. Or we can bring the whole part or all of the accounting team with us. So we have accountants, we have controllers, we have advisors, we have technology team, because we believe maximizing your technology stack, your ConnectWise or your Autotask, is part of the key to making your value greater. So we'll bring the whole team and work as your complete outsourced accounting team. So we'll work with your people, or we will bring the whole team.
Okay, so both solutions are available. That's cool.
Yeah, and anything in the middle.
Right. And they probably need a whole variety of different solutions.
Yeah, and that's where we really come in, because I do believe that until you are in that 100 million plus range, you don't need a full-time CFO. Right. If you think of a person and someone providing a team to you, you only need the head part of the CFO. Then the body is like the controller. And then your waist down is your accountants and your technologists to help. You don't need that full scale of person. And if you are hiring someone, if you go out and say, I need a CFO on $10 million, the amount of work that you have that is pure CFO work you'll either be hiring a high-level controller that thinks they can reach into that CFO realm but may fall short, or you're hiring a CFO that's going to want significant equity or get bored and leave. So prior to coming to us, what we see usually in the $1 to $5 million range is they have a legacy bookkeeper. The owner is still doing the billing or managing their cash. There's no true month close cycle. And as they have a startup or bootstrap mentality, cash-based transaction reporting, those are the smaller businesses. And then as it changes, you may be scaling your operations or providing some growth. You may have an accountant that comes in and help. Maybe a controller or an accounting manager starts to present. But typically, it's less about size of revenue, and it's more about where the company is. Where's the mentality of the organization? A great quote I heard the other day is, set up your business for where you want to be, not where you are, right? So if you want to be an organization that is organizationally mature, financially mature, driving your organization forward, that's the team you need to put in place in order to be able to get there. And a lot of times what you have at that bootstrap mentality, I've had a $7 million company just came to me that was a bootstrap mentality, cash basis, and wanted to sell. We had to revamp their entire structure in order to get them in that forward-thinking, driving mentality to maximize their value, or they would have taken a haircut of about 4 points off of their multiplier.
Let's think about high-performing MSPs. What do high-performing MSPs do differently in their finance operations? How do they use it, compared to peers who struggle with data visibility and scalability?
Yeah, one, they recognize finance as an important pillar on their stool. Some stools have 3 legs, some have 5 legs, but if finance isn't one of them, you won't be a high-performing MSP. The other thing they do is they measure everything. They measure their gross margin by service line. They know their fully loaded labor costs. They know their customer profitability. They close their books monthly. They reproduce financial statements. They question the results. They have accrual-based accounting, not just cash-based. And they have a forecast that is within 5% deviation month over month. So they really know where they are going, and they can see with a roadmap versus always driving in the rearview mirror.
So great. I feel like I'm going to take this podcast and give it literally to the last 10 people I spoke with. Say, listen, I told you, listen to what Brandi has to say. You're saying the same things. Building a finance team, like a discrete step process where you kind of stay at some level, and then when you get to the next step, you kind of build in a few more capabilities? Or is it like a continuous thing that you keep working on?
Yeah, no, you keep working on it because as your business changes, the skill sets which you'll need on your finance team will change a little bit. So in how much of each of those skill sets will change. And we get asked this a lot. And being a firm that provides an outsourced team, selfishly, I can tell you, it's the best way to go, right? Especially as you're growing and scaling. And you don't need a full-time CFO if you are planning to sell your business in 3 years. That CFO will be bored. They don't want to do your month-end close. If you're hiring someone, note to all of you, if you are hiring because you want to sell and someone says they're a CFO and they'll get your books closed, they are not a CFO. They are a controller. That is not what CFOs want to do. They know it's necessary. They want to drive your business forward. So a good benchmark on what you can expect to invest is somewhere between 2 and 4% of your revenue for your finance team as a whole. So whether that be some outsourcing with some in-house alone, or pure outsourcing, the cost is between 2 and 4%, depending on how fast you want to grow and how heavy the lift is.
Most people think about finance as a way to help measure themselves and report stuff. But from a mindset perspective, it's so important to understand that you can use it to grow. Give us some examples of how that happens.
Yeah, so we have a methodology we use called Road True, and I love to talk about it because it's a methodology that looks at your operational data, your sales data, and your finance data on your team to put together a comprehensive plan that tells you what types of customers should you be going after? What's your close ratio? What's your customer acquisition cost? What's your sweet spot of fixed fee per customer? And it works off of your existing data. So you get a strategic sales and marketing plan, as well as what is it going to take to service these accounts? What skill sets do I need in-house? And am I paying my people appropriately? And what number of staff do I need in order to service these clients? So you get your strategic staffing and operations plan that you can combine all of that. And now you have a roadmap on the operations and on the sales side to help drive businesses forward. And that type of analysis is amazing. It's a game changer. It gets me super excited because when you can say to your customer, listen, here's your customers. I know you want to go after the $12,000 a month managed service clients, but you're actually only making $72 an hour as an effective rate when you sell to those. You either have an operational issue because you don't know how to service them, or they're priced too low, or it's not your company's sweet spot. Let's go to the $7,000 a month clients because look, you're $210 an hour effective rate there. That tells you you know how to price them, your team knows how to work with them, and you can make more money that way. So that's what gets me.
Do you maintain a checklist, like a CFO checklist or a framework for exit preparation?
Yeah, we do. And it's based on 3 pillars. And the 3 pillars it's based on is on financial accuracy. Are the financials accurate and can they help you tell a good story? Strategic foresight and value readiness. And really looking at all of that, the core is that financial accuracy. And if that is not correct and solid, you will have an issue on the other side. 3 big things. Do you have accrual books versus cash? Do you have accurate revenue recognition, which is key? And any buyer of an organization will look at that, meaning if you've collected $200,000 in advanced revenue and your bank account is $100,000, they know you're living off money you haven't earned from a cash, and that hurts you. And then do you have a monthly close process? Another thing that an acquirer will look at, and they go to financials first, because a business sale comes down to numbers, guys. It's not about the staff you have. It's a little bit about your staff, a little bit about your customers, but it is about can they make money? And they will look at your accounting policies and procedures as well to make sure that you have them in place, because that tells a story if you have your stuff together and you know what you're doing. Next is chart of accounts, making sure that you have the best practices in place for segmentation and profitability to be able to see it. The second is, do you have a forecast? And are you tracking to those KPIs or forecasts? It's secondary to the having that core foundation, but it is a good way to really look at it and say, does this business know where they're going? And can I believe their story? Is their story viable? Is it honest? And can I take it with me? And then some sensitivity and scenario planning, really using that to show if I do this, what will it do on my value? If I do this, and that's where the CFO can really help you there. And then really understanding your add backs and normalizing your data. That's going to be one of the key things you get asked. And by having clean add backs, you can get 1 to 2 times EBITDA just by knowing that. So running personal expenses, owner compensation that's above market, any one-time legal or consulting fees, put them in a little class. QuickBooks has a thing called classes. Pop those into the add back category or post them in a GL that's below the line, because you don't need to have it in your EBITDA. You can have it below just so it's taken out.
Are there particular financial ratios or benchmarks you encourage MSPs to track? Maybe you can share, I'm sure there are many, but maybe you can share a few of them that you really think are useful.
Yeah, big one is gross margin by service line. And depending on the service line, whether it be managed services, which should be 50 to 60%, if it's products, if it's projects or time and material expenses, you'll want to have those broken out. An adjusted EBITDA margin, best in class is 18 to 22%. It changes a little bit. Recurring revenue percentage is a really big one. How much of your revenue is recurring? And they're not talking about software here. They're talking about services. One thing that we see a lot is they'll bundle in the Office 365. No, we're talking about service revenue. Client churn. Are you keeping your clients happy and long term? It's one thing we'll look for. 10% or greater or less than 10% is where you want to be there.
Yep.
Utilization is a big one, guys. And I will say, and this is for your techs, I've been in this industry now about 18 years. Back then, it was always utilization of techs was 85 to 90%, period. The tech's job was to service clients. Now what we're seeing in utilizations when I go into companies is I'm seeing anywhere from 50 to 70%. It's way low, way low. Best in class targets between 75 and 82, depending on what your company's culture is and how much paid time off you have, holidays you have, training time. There is a utilization calculator for this to determine what the right utilization should be on a per person or position. It's part of service leadership. Happy to share it so you can share it with your folks. But that's a big one because that tells any potential buyer or yourself where you're losing money. I'm seeing that right now is one of the biggest losers of funds. And then revenue per employee and trending that over time is a really big one. A good best in class should be 180 to 220, 250 per employee.
Yeah. Let's talk about due diligence itself. So let's say due diligence is going on and buyers are going through that process. What are some of the common gaps you see or issues you see crop up in that due diligence stage where sellers get tripped up?
Yeah, so buyers don't just look for growth in companies. I just want to let everyone know that. They look for confidence in the numbers and then can they rely on what they're seeing? Because you can tell the most compelling story about why it's important for someone to buy your business and how great and how much growth and your contracts are amazing and your clients are awesome and your staff is unbelievable. But if you don't have the numbers to back that up, it will decline your value. The biggest ones I see is someone may think they're on accrual basis, but their balance sheet doesn't have prepaid expenses, for example, right? So the cash versus accrual mismatch. Accrual accounting means your revenue is posted and the expenses match that revenue for that time period. So that's a huge one. Another one is inconsistent revenue recognition. And that's if you collect money in advance or bill for 12 months, you need to recognize that revenue 1/12 over a year. And that's part of accrual accounting. And a lot of times businesses like ConnectWise, for example, and Autotask, you bill and it posts to revenue unless you have it configured. And it's not always revenue and you have to do an adjustment. Lack of clean add back schedules. If you think a buyer is going to go in and take the add backs for you to say, no, your EBITDA isn't 18%, it's actually 22. And I want to show you why I did all these add backs. They're never going to do that for you. So you want to make sure you know what the add backs are so you can maximize your value there. And then unclear owner compensation or family wages, that goes back to add back as well. You want to exclude anything personal or that relates to the owner because acquirers don't always want to keep you on. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It means you've done your job and you've done your job well. The last thing, the biggest that hiccups everybody, documentation around your recurring contracts. Make sure all of your recurring contracts that you have in your system have a contract to back it up. They will look at that to make sure that what the terms are, and they weigh their risk on those contracts. If you don't have a contract, the risk factor goes up.
How about a success story? There's so many things to get right here. How about a success story of an MSP that transformed its operations and truly became exit ready as a result?
Yeah, so we have one client, about $9 million, joined us. They were actually approached by a acquisition group to buy their business. And it's an MSP I had known for a couple of years now, and they just weren't ready to change. But when they got this acquisition, they said, "Can you come in and tell me the value of my business? Because I don't like the number they're giving me, and I think my business is worth this." They said, "I want $5 million." They were an $8 million MSP, and the acquirer was only willing to offer them $3.9 million.
Okay.
So when we did the valuation, I didn't know what the acquirer was offering them.
Right.
I didn't want to know. I wanted to run it independent, but we analyzed their business and created a roadmap that said, here's the things you can do to increase your value. And your value is worth 3.6 to 4.1 million. And he went, "Oh, crap, what do I do?" And they had the roadmap. So in that roadmap, we worked to clear up his GL, move him to accrual accounting, implement dashboards, and put in a forecast that's 18 months out. We told him 2 years you'd be at that value if you followed your standard course of action. Just change these little things. You wouldn't have to dramatically change your business, but just do these little steps. You can keep the same business and your value will change. Mm-hmm. They were now approached by a private equity group, and they were ready, and they could sell at that. They actually sold at 1% higher because they had all this in place, and it only took them 17 months.
Oh, wow. This is a great story. One of the things that you said here really resonated with me because Peter Kujawa was on this podcast some months ago, and he was saying something very similar. He was like, "There's a long list of things to do. That doesn't mean you have to do everything today. You pick 3 things, you do them this quarter. You pick the next 3 things, you do them next. You take them piece by piece. You just have to stay focused and keep doing them, and eventually you'll make a lot of progress." So what's a piece of advice to MSP founders you want to give? Eventually, you want to sell at a premium multiple.
Yeah, start today running your business like you're going to sell it, even if you never do. Make sure you have the discipline to track everything, record it, keep a data room. I know that sounds silly, right? But there's one thing a bank or a buyer loves to see. Even if you want to acquire a business, if you have a data room and a bank, say you find a company, perfect augmentation of your business, and you want to buy them. When you contact the bank to get the SBA loan, they're going to ask you for the financial story of your business. If you have that run every month in a regular cadence, you're tracking your margin, you're tracking your contracts, you have all of this in place. When you send that over, you get the money.
Brandi, thank you so much for doing this with us. This was an incredible amount of great content. Really, really, really appreciate your sharing it with my audience.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciated it.
Thanks for saying that.
Thanks.